Amanda Heisman. CHHC is a nutrition, intuitive, and energy embodiment coach. She teaches intuitive eating and eating for energy while exploring the spiritual and emotional sides of nourishment and channeling the needs of the nourishment body. Amanda hails from the great state of Ohio, spent 18 months digital nomading recently, and now resides back in South Florida. She discovered her passion for health and wellness accidentally on purpose when a car accident rendered her physically and emotionally stuck. The marrying of Amanda's formal training and intuitive ability provides deep transformation, a stepping away from diet and restriction mentality and into one of nourishment and truth. She loves exploring subjects such as colors that nourish, foods that sing, and the dance of digestion. Because intuition and nutrition are a match made in heaven, Amanda explores the energy of your health potential and helps you bring it to form and harmony. Before I bring Amanda on, I swear this woman had to have been like a writer or a poet or some kind of amazing thing like that, because she has a gift with freaking words. Oh my goodness. Amanda, you ready to rock this?
I am so ready, Chris.
She's ready! Woohoo! Awesome. I love your intro. It's like so just awesome and fun and great. It's just great.
Yay, that's awesome.
Yes, it's so good. So we're going to dive right in, and thank you so much for showing up today and being on our show and giving this value to our audience. We appreciate you, and we're going to dive right into the question of the day, which is, what is the gift? Okay, and what is the gift being in life? It's going to throw you curveballs. There's going to be challenges, obstacles, incredible difficulties to overcome. And we want to know, how do you approach life as if these lessons, these challenges and, challenges, like real difficult things that most people would say, this is a problem, this is the worst thing ever, this sucks. How do you interpret those as gifts, and how has that philosophy shaped you in life?
Yes. Oh, I love this question. I'm ready to dive right in. But first, I want to say thank you for having me. I'm loving being here and appreciating what you do on these 12-hour marathons, because, man, it's a commitment, and you are bringing so much value to your listeners. So just appreciate and acknowledging you, Chris.
Thank you.
And the second thing I wanted to say before answering that is, I think I heard somewhere in there that by being on here, I'm going to get some action. Is that what I...
Only the audience members, the guests.
Okay. So I'm going to hold you to that. Let Chris know. Okay. So the gift. So you're kind of asking, life is full of challenges and struggles and everything, right? So how do we go through that still with a smile on our face, sort of thing? Yeah. I was just talking to someone about this yesterday, actually musicians, and they were giving me kind of the analogy of a harmony, and saying that harmony isn't only the consonants. It isn't only the part that you think is sounding good. It's actually the moments of dissonance and consonance together, like the resonance and the dissonance, and it's the fullness of the song. It's the fullness of the life. And that just got me thinking about the fullness of my life and all the different experiences, then what I would call struggles, what were struggles, I'll call them what they are, that have made my life so full, and how I definitely wouldn't be where I am today without things like heartbreak and car accidents and getting fired from jobs and this, that, and the other thing. I think they are what makes up a full life and what brings us back into resonance. And but when you're in it, it can be really tough. And so I just like when I talk about health and baby steps in health, I talk about baby steps in our emotional well-being as well. And I actually have a whole video on this that is called The Marriage of Intuition and Nutrition, I think it is, but where I share a lot about my most recent heartbreak and story coming back from that, where some days like you you feel like eating a dozen donuts or something like that, because life can be that, life hands you that sort of feeling. And I think it's really, really, really key to celebrate the baby steps, to celebrate whatever was a win that day, and sometimes a win that day is just getting out of bed, if that's where you're at. And sometimes a win that day is getting to chat with Chris Burns. And sometimes, you know what I mean? Whatever your win of the day is, if you're at a point where you feel like you're struggling with your business and you're not getting clients, but you did a Facebook Live today, you want to celebrate your wins. You want to really celebrate. So often we wait till whatever we think is the big thing to celebrate. And I just invite us to reframe that into celebrating every step of the way, because it is about the journey and the fullness of that journey. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Going deep already. I love it. Love it. Love it. Yes. Amazing. So with all this profound wisdom, and I love how you related it to the music, and it was just awesome. Awesome how you interpret it, how you shared it, and how you story tell and relate things with people. We want to know, Amanda, tell us more about what you're working on today. What do you do? And what are your, I read your intro, but tell us more personally.
Yeah, sure. Excuse me. So, my practice is as a nutrition coach and a nutrition intuitive. So, as Chris said in his intro, I love going deep with folks. Probably my most favorite thing to do is my one-to-one work with clients, and I work in 12-week programs with them. And that makes for really interesting, really different than kind of your average health coach, in the sense that we have both the clinical and the scientific side and the intuitive side kind of married together. And that brings deep transformation. I also do group programs, and I have digital self-led programs now that folks can get a taste of my work. And so that's kind of what I've been doing and what I really love to do. But it's funny that you kind of said something about poetry or writing or something like that, because I'm getting my kind of butt kicked by the universe to work on a lot of my creative projects. So you're going to see more, more articles, and eventually a book or two, and working on some dance and music type of stuff. Coming forth, that's all going to relate back to nutrition. So I'm really excited about that as well, making some space to just bring it all together.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So how much has really owning your self-expression, because you got a ton of it, it's oozing, how has that played a part in your life up to this point?
Oh, yes. Very much so. I think the moments when I don't allow myself to embody and express, I think what sometimes words fail. I love words, but sometimes words fail me, and I resort to charades and talking with my body, and some people get me and some people don't, and that's okay. But I think that interpretive dance time with Amanda. Right. I think that the times that I don't, and some people just think I'm a total weirdo, and I'm okay with that as well. But the times when I don't, or the times I try to present as different than I actually am, or kind of shut that down, I get sick. And what shows up for me, sometimes I might get a sore throat or an earache or something like that, but I generally don't get that kind of sick very often. What I get is flare-ups from my spine stuff, which was initially from that accident. I was initially advised by the neurologist to fuse my discs together at C5. And I chose not to do that and go more a holistic route, which put me on this path in the first place. But when I'm not expressing, I will feel it in my neck and my shoulders, and I'll just suddenly my shoulders will be up around my ears and my back will hurt. And I'm like, what am I not, what am I not doing? What am I not saying?
Wow.
A lot of throat chakra work in that way. But I think it's very important to me. And that's that whole, our vibe attracts our tribe thing, and just being your authentic self. I know that's kind of a buzzword these days, but I think it really is important to, constantly to present in kind of radical honesty about who you are in the fullness of it, right? All sides of it. And kind of let the chips fall where they may, because too many of us have kind of, well, I won't speak for anybody else. I have grown up kind of trying to present, not even realizing it, but kind of trying to present in a way that I assume would be agreeable to others. And once I'm in alignment with myself, there's just so much freedom to be found there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So thank you for kind of dipping into your story and sharing about your self-expression. I would love to talk about that throat chakra healing and, what you do about the stiffness, tension, because I'm sure a lot of people go through symptoms in their body, and how do we alleviate that? How do we kind of self-diagnose or self-heal, that kind of stuff? And before we get there, let's go back a little bit into your journey and tell us more about what happened and, what with the accident and your kind of wake-up moments, and just take us where you want us to go with you. Lead us on the life of Amanda.
Sure. So 6.5 years ago, I was down here in South Florida, and I'm a Midwest girl, but I had moved down here for a job in tech sales. And I was living the dream, so to speak. I was doing well in this corporate position that I had, and I was traveling a lot, and I was doing marathons and triathlons and soccer games and basketball games, and it's just like loving my life, and farmers markets and just festivals, and I had a very full life then. And the last year I was kind of in, I had a couple signs, like a couple things that I didn't pay attention to, like I got mono, and I just really didn't slow down, and like a couple things like that. And then the sales position I was in had been a really good fit for me up until kind of the last year that I was in it. And it was just kind of this perfect storm with the accident of the universe saying it's time. But once the accident happened, it was interesting for me because it wasn't like this, like I suddenly couldn't do all the things that I had loved to do, and not only loved to do, but found a lot of identity in. So I found a lot of identity in like being successful and being an athlete and all this stuff. And then I couldn't do those things anymore. So it was kind of this slow journey, like fumbling my way through my recovery and doing all the traditional, like Western, going through the CT scans and the MRI scans and everything else, and the PT and the neurologist. and when the solution was to fuse my discs together, I just was a full body no.
What does that mean, to fuse the discs together?
It means they fuse your discs together, and you like with I think there's a different procedure these days, but with metal, I mean, my mom is in her 60s and she has it, and and you lose a lot of mobility there. And I didn't have words to around my intuition at that time, except the word intuition. But I just knew that wasn't gonna happen. Like I didn't want to do that. And so that started me kind of the snowball effect of researching different, I had done a little yoga, but not a lot. So like yoga, qigong, osteopathy, which is, kind of different than a chiropractor, same goal of aligning the spine, but a very different approach, a very slow, gentle approach. And it's much bigger in Europe than it is here in the States. And nutrition was one of the things that I had slowly, after the year after my car accident, gained about 20 pounds. Mm-hmm. And because I just didn't even think about what I was eating, I just ate what I'd always eaten, and I couldn't go, finally something clicked where, okay, if I can't go run 5 miles, maybe I should take a closer look at what I'm putting in my body. Mm. And I started reading and researching. And then eventually all of this this perfect storm led to me leaving my job. And I didn't know at the time what I was going to do. I just knew not this. I think that's a lot of times how it starts, right? We don't know where we're going. We just know where we're not going. Mm-hmm. And so I just started this, what I call this breadcrumb trail. This breadcrumb trail left by my soul, mm-hmm. of following the crumb trail. And eventually that led to me going back to nutrition school. Mm. But those crumbs were not big crumbs. They were I think I'm gonna go to the beach today. Mm. I think I'm gonna nap a little longer today. I think, I was really burnt out and I was really stressed out, and I had been waking up with bloody gums from grinding my teeth, and I was definitely up here, just had a lot of stress. And so little by little, we got my shoulders back down, but it wasn't these big, what I would call life events or big realizations. It was, what do I feel like doing right now? I'm going to start that Martha Beck book that I've been meaning to start for the last 8 weeks. Mm. And now I want to have a Skype date with my dad. Mm. It's what do I want to do right now in this very moment? Mm. And eventually, those baby steps, eventually something dropped in my inbox and I found my nutrition school, and that was a full body yes. And here we are, 5 years later or whatever it is. Wow. Yeah.
So what was that journey like from going into nutrition school to getting here today? What were some of the ups and downs of that challenge, that mission?
Yeah, going into nutrition school to getting here today. That was fun. That was interesting for me in the sense that I had a year. So I had a rough year right after the car accident of finding my way. And then I had this really beautiful year that was kind of I don't know what it'll be called, and the chapter in the book might be the awakening. I don't know what it'll be called, but it was this really beautiful year of just meditating at the beach and doing yoga and qigong and all these things. And and finding nutrition school. And I ended up opening my business and getting into a new relationship at the same time. Wow. So talk about bringing all your shit up at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
If there's two things that bring your stuff up, it's being in a relationship and it's being vulnerable enough to start a business.
Yeah.
So in my opinion. So that was fun. That was kind of in the fire of growth, sort of in the belly of whatever the terms are.
Belly of the beast.
That's what it was. The belly of the beast, the fire, what is it? The hearth, or I don't know. Anyway, so that's where I was. And I also, my business is still evolving, but has gone through several iterations and evolutions. From at the beginning, I for about a year and a half, I worked bridge jobs, to make ends meet. Mm-hmm. And I worked at an acupuncture place, and I worked and I got really exposed to traditional Chinese medicine, which was a great thing for me. I worked at a wellness center. I did luxury travel agency. Mm-hmm. I did a salt therapy place. So I did a lot of things there to just kind of make ends meet, but that was also interesting, that was also an interesting thing for me to go from having been so corporate and then go to an hourly job and just, have that sort of humbling experience. But it was again, a very full experience of being able, I can see how each one was important to my growth as an entrepreneur. Mm. And so then, I did some classes in person here. I did coaching in person and some classes. My very first group class was called Healthy Habits 101. And, that was fun. It was all women, and it was all at a local location here. And then I eventually, in 2016, I did a lot of corporate wellness stuff back then too. And then I took everything online in 2016. And then at the end of 2016 and beginning of last year was kind of when I started to realize how important, that I could channel the needs of the nourishment body and how important that piece was going to be in my business. And that's the same time that relationship ended. So that's been a whole nother growth point over the last 18 months. And I started my digital nomad journey, and I just got back to South Florida. So there's a whole just kind of literally going around the world and around Amanda's world and coming back again. That has happened. And it's been beautiful to see the evolution of my business with this kind of intuitive piece, and really help. It's really interesting for me to not only teach intuitive eating, but to have the honor to like channel the needs of someone's nourishment body. But when someone kind of gets the shift out of the diet and restriction mentality, and I do this because it does feel like a box, and into the universal energy of nourishment, which is really open, it's really free, it's really divine. Yeah. It's sacred. It is our birthright, just like love and just like abundance. Nourishment is our birthright. Like, we are meant to be well nourished. And so when that moving away from that energy and into that energy happens for someone, it's just like a gift back to me every time to watch. Yeah.
How do you feel right now?
I feel good. I feel like I kind of went on a bit of a tangent, but I think
perfect.
that was...
It's perfect. Yeah. It is perfect,
It's
Amanda.
always perfect. We are always ready. We are always perfect.
Tell us about this channeling the nourishment body. I love this. Let's dive into this. And then, universal energy. Like, I love this. This is gold. This is my stuff right here.
Yeah. So I was getting, like, I always had.
You're like, come on, come on.
So bulls, Chris, come on. Okay, sorry. Your people are gonna be like, she's a crazy woman. I've always kind of known that when I trust my intuition, things usually work out, and when I don't, So I always knew that. But when I first realized I was, and I would just say things and not know where they were coming from, but normally they would line up with what my logical brain would say anyway. And then when they didn't, then I was kind of like, where did that come from? And it was really apparent one time when someone I run what I call a holistic detox. I run it maybe about quarterly, whenever the energy kind of calls for it really strongly. And it's kind of my answer to all those kind of the cleanses and the detoxes out there that are maybe not, maybe really restrictive. This is something I've created to be really, to be flooding your body with nourishment, and to inevitably support the emotional detox that comes up with the physical one. And so there was a lady in one of those groups, in that group, and she was not someone who I had worked with before. So I was not, aside from her little intake questions, I wasn't familiar with her body. And I just felt in one of the sessions, the group sessions, like, we got to talk about her kidneys. What's going on with your kidneys? Like, let's talk kidneys. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Well, I don't know anything about her body or kidneys. Well, she I just told her, we need to support your kidneys, have some, make sure you're having plenty of lemon water, have some beets, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So she goes and does that. Cleanse, our detox ends. And then about 2 weeks, I don't hear from her, but about 2 weeks later, she comes back to me and says, Amanda, I did everything you said. And then I went above and beyond and did like this kidney cleanse from her naturopath, after. Mm. And then she tells me, and I released like dozens and dozens of kidney stones. And then she says, and always where the kidneys are back here, she said, always that had been hard to the touch, like if she touched it. Mm. And she said, now it's soft, like my fingers kind of indent into my skin, like soft, like a woman's middle, and she said that was unbelievable. Like that was an unbelievable change. She couldn't remember the last time that she had been able to do that. And I was like, So that was one of the first times I realized what was happening. But I think I think it's nice for folks, because I truly do believe that everyone can do this for themselves. Mm. Everyone is intuitive and everyone can do this for themselves, but it's always nice to have kind of a mentor and a teacher. So that's why I not only kind of bridge the gap of letting you know what I get, as a conduit, but also teach it. Mm-hmm. And I really feel, very strongly about what I just said, that the universal energy of nourishment is really open and it's really free to play within. It's really divine. It's every time we nourish ourselves, when we eat 3 times a day or 2 or 4 or whatever, that's a sacred thing. Like that's a beautiful, sacred opportunity to nourish ourselves. And we think of all these, we kind of think of all these like personal development things and, spiritual things and just different things we can do to better ourselves. And like we think about our bodies, but usually it's like, oh, I need to eat more vegetables and I need to work out more.
Right.
And you know what I mean?
I'm doing something wrong and I better get it into shape. I better correct it. I better be disciplined. I better, be regimented, control. Very, very controlled.
Yes. Yeah. And that is so like ingrained in us, especially in our Western societies, like so deeply ingrained that it's hard to break sometimes, so much so that we do it in other areas of our lives. Like we break the restriction in other areas of our lives. And we have kind of upgraded into new paradigms spiritually or emotionally. And we're still sitting there staring at our eating and our plate and our bodies in the old sort of way. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. You with me? Yep. So we are already whole. We are already, we're masterpieces and works in progress at the same time. But it's time to kind of upgrade that piece, like and step into this new way. And so we do that through baby steps. We do that through, getting back in touch with our bodies. And that's, I mean, it's like it's not just the anti-diet, it's really playing in that space of being free to explore what nourishes your biochemical individual body the best. And what nourished you last week might not be what nourishes you this week. And so it's this grand exploration. And once we kind of take the pressure off in that way, like we release the condemnation around it and the restriction around it and just get into a space of curiosity and exploration. Now that's really fun. Yes.
Yeah. I love this. I actually have another guest who's going to be coming on in the future talking about the microbiome, right? It's like that gut health is like not everyone needs the same foods or the same nutrients because everyone's gut is different and everyone's genes, how they're expressed are different because of those bacteria that are in there. And because of the genes that we have, like we need different foods. So how do you empower people to like listen to themselves, or without necessarily do you tell people to get kind of medical testing to find out what they need, or do you teach them how to listen to their body and intuition? Like how do you teach them how to know what they need?
Sure. I mean, they can get medical testing, like we can look at that for sure, but it's not necessary. We do this in a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways to do this, and I do have the intuitive eating experience is a great way to get started with it. It's just a simple 21-day intro to intuitive eating course. But it usually helps, like, I kind of step downs, right, usually help, and having some sort of structure usually helps people. So a lot of times I'll talk about ratios and like just a little more of that and a little less of this sort of thing. So like the big five, we're all bio individual, but most humans will do really well with adequate sleep, adequate vegetables, adequate water, movement, and love in their lives. And so a lot of times more water and more vegetables and you're a different person. You know what I mean? Your energy skyrockets and goes through the roof. And then, you know, less of the processed foods or the alcohol or the refined sugar and And then there's all the space to play in between. But when we kind of have that structure, that kind of helps people, or if they think about like that in terms of 80-20, you know, and so things like that can help. Veggie centric, you know, people kind of get a little bit of structure there. But as far as practices to really just start to get in touch with our body, probably things you've heard, right? So we do a chewing our food practice. It's an interesting meditation. It is, because most of us, at least I was part of the like 1, 2, 3 gulp,
Gone.
5 bites and swallow. Like, oh my God, and we're eating behind the screen and we're eating behind the driver's wheel or wherever we're eating, right? And so putting some ritual around meals again, and not just treating the home as like this hotel, motel, Holiday Inn thing where we're all passing like ships in the night. But
is that Pitbull?
I'm still thinking about getting some action, Chris.
I love this conversation.
I do too. But putting some ritual behind our meals again. And so, you know, eating the same thing as our family, you know, whether we're a family of 6 or 2, you know what I mean? Having, or 1, you know, if you're a single person, sitting down with yourself to enjoy a meal is important. Putting like lighting a candle, saying some grace or expressing some gratitude in some way before, after.
Bless that food. Bless that food. Infuse energy into that. Food. Infuse it. Ah!
Yes. So, and it's important, and it is transformative just to do nothing else while you eat. And then I'm getting to the chewing, but it's almost like the meal can be a 5 senses meditation. You know, I really love Indian culture and how they use their hands to eat anything that we would probably use utensils for. But first you're smelling the food, like you smell it, you feel it, like it's almost like, okay, pretend you're an alien and you just landed on Earth and you have no idea what you're about to eat here. What is happening? Like, so before it even makes its way to your mouth, you've smelled it, you've felt it, like you've used 2 senses already. Then you just notice, like the hand knows to move it to the mouth and the tongue knows to receive it and move it to the teeth, and the teeth and the jaw knows to chew it, and you swallow it, and you're like, the impulse to swallow is there, and you're exactly 1 bite heavier. Like, how cool is that? And you use all of your senses. But I was going to talk about chewing, because there is we've all heard digestion starts in the mouth, right? Especially for carbohydrates. And chewing, like there's a magical number. The magical number is supposedly 30. And that really changes whatever's in your mouth, right? The texture, it's pretty much pureed. It's pretty much liquid by then. Yeah. And your stomach doesn't have to do a whole lot of, work once it gets there.
What is that? Like, what difference does that ultimately make?
Yeah. So it makes a difference in the assimilation of nutrients once it hits your intestines. So the harder, and it makes a difference in the sense that what we don't sometimes realize is the digestion does take a lot of energy. And so the more we can optimize digestion, the more energy we're going to have for other things, right? To build our businesses and love our families and everything else. So, and for me, it becomes a really mindful practice, right? I told you before that like my jaw and neck can be my problem area. And so you might think this would be annoying for me, but it actually really relaxes me. It actually really relaxes my jaw, and it actually becomes really mindful. Now, 30 bites for the whole meal, you could be there like, 3 hours. It could be like you could be in Spain, but hello to anyone over there in Barcelona. So, I would suggest, what I usually suggest is picking one bite in one meal to chew 30 times and really notice what happens. And then if you can just up the other ones from, 3 to 12, from 5 to 15, if we can get a little more, if we can get above 10, I think we'll hit that initial texture change, and that'll make a big difference. I mean, that's just one practice. There's a lot of them. We do stuff with journaling. We do stuff with feeling different parts of our bodies. So people, and then that complements what comes through for me in the sense of what it looks like when I see their nourishment body is I see the different organs, and I might see I see both like their full health potential and kind of how good they're meant to feel, but also what the blockage is. So the organs, when the organ in question isn't resonating with its corresponding chakra, with its corresponding energy center, and I see it as a spinning, right? So, so when I can give them a focus on which organ or which chakra and which color, and they can take it and do some different body talk exercises with it, that can be really transformative.
So, for example, because I know I have some challenges with my own throat chakra, what did you do and how did you deal with that?
What did I do for myself?
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of things. But, and I was working with a coach too, to open up my throat chakra. And I was in a whole program with her, not a health coach, but more of a spiritual mentor. So I did that. I invested in a coach, but I also, eating blue is going to help. There's not a lot of naturally blue foods besides blueberries. So have some blueberries, but also the blue-green of the ocean, like sea vegetables, chlorella, spirulina, dulse, there's like the seaweed nori wraps, things like that are those sea vegetables from the sea, have kind of that throat chakra energy. Okay. And it kind of helps that flow. Singing, I started like just singing in the shower, in the car, and wherever I was going. And I had a lot of pain here. So I was going to the osteopath, and I was doing different, just really gentle stretches to kind of just stretch that area out. I did garlic mullein oil in my ears when my ears were bothering me too. But I think one of the biggest things was just speaking my truth to people around me, to loved ones around me, and letting them know this is who I am now. And that was difficult. I came from a corporate background. I came from a Christian home. I came from, just like a lot of this is the way it was sort of thing. And so all of my evolution and like communicating that to people I loved was difficult. I was also kind of a classic overgiver. So my osteopath actually gave me this analogy of, he's French. So if you have a baguette, right? And you, in this world, in this dream world, all that you need to nourish you every day is half of a baguette, but you're given a whole one every day. So what do you do? What do you do, Chris?
I would eat it, the other half, or I would sell it, or I would give it away. Probably in order of that.
So either you would eat the whole baguette, or you would eat half of it and sell the other half, or you would eat half of it and give the other half away.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. So good answers. But you're taking care, the point is you're taking care of yourself, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I kind of thought I was eating half and giving the other half away, but really I was just kind of holding on to the very end of the baguette and letting everybody kind of come around and take, 7/8 of it away from me.
Wow.
Yeah. So I kind of had to hold on to my piece there. So I think the combination of kind of speaking my truth in the sense of this is who I am now and this is what I stand for now, and making sure my cup was full before trying to give to others was really important.
Wow. Powerful. Powerful. Thank you for sharing that. That was valuable. I love it.
You're welcome.
I love it. In terms of the universal energies, how do we plug in and access that freely flowing energy even more?
Yes. It is inherent. So when I say it's your birthright, I mean it. Like it is inherent in you. It's kind of an unlearning and a relearning sort of thing. It feels more like a homecoming than having to plug in or having to access something, because it is inherent in you. Just like you want to love, it's that inherent. So it kind of feels like a homecoming when you get it. But I mean, I would suggest a lot of these intuitive eating practices that I already mentioned to start that journey. I would suggest celebrating every baby step. I would suggest dance parties, really embodying. Like if you just listen to this, you were exposed to a whole bunch of homecoming type of information. I would go have like a 5-minute, 10-minute dance party afterwards and let it kind of sink into your cells, right? Things have to kind of marinate in our energy a little bit. And when we move our bodies, we kind of let that information sink into, it's like this osmosis kind of, right? Like let it sink into our cells a little bit. And you can work with someone. My intuitive eating program puts this all in 21 days. Yeah. So.
Love it. Cool. I'm curious,
it's in you.
After 12 hours of being on Facebook Live, what do you think would be the best integration technique for me?
All of that. Woo. Definitely some shaking. It's kind of like you got to shake it off a little bit. Yeah. Shake it off. You can do I would also do some hanging, like some forward folds. Yeah. To stretch your spine out, and then and some shaking, and then just any kind of music that makes you happy. Like I'm an equal opportunity dancer, but people have to do what like makes them happy for themselves, just like food is not a punishment. Activity is not a punishment. So whatever, I'm a firm believer that it's like functional fitness, keyword fun. You should dance in whatever way makes you happy, move in whatever way that is pleasurable. Pleasure is important. So don't, whatever music makes you happy. I've been liking soca lately and reggae, but I mean, who knows tomorrow?
Who knows tomorrow? I love it. So back to the homecoming, really, receiving that which we already have within us. Is there anything that we can do to accelerate or relearn even faster?
Yeah. Everything I already said, plus I just want everyone to know that they are whole and already healed. right? You, like I said before, you're a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. And I love seeing that on a daily basis. There's something about having like notes and things in my space. And I have this going for free right now on my Facebook page, which is Intuitive Eating Mantras. And it's every mantra Monday. And what we do is they write this on a little note card and put it in a couple spots in their homes. And when they see it, they read it, and that's it. When you see it, you read it, or you might like repeat it before meal times, like 9 times before meal times or something. But like replace judgment with curiosity is one of them. Or anything I choose or do not choose is a reflection of my body's highest wisdom. But just getting that internal dialogue going. You can make your own too, but those are just some invitations and offerings from me.
I love it. I love it. So any other like really powerful tips around health, around really being intuitive with our eating that you think would really make a difference for us? We can obviously definitely go check out your Facebook page, and we'll talk about that again in a couple minutes, but that's facebook.com/Heisman Health, correct?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So we'll get there in a second. And is there anything else that has really been working for you or that you really want us to get?
This might sound simple, but most people aren't eating enough vegetables and drinking enough water. And you can really there you go. Just really, I mean, half the time, most issues can be solved by getting hydrated and having some green vegetables. Green is the #1 most missing thing in American diets. It's the most nutrient-rich vegetable, right? Some leafies or not, whatever. So cooked or not, in a smoothie or in a salad or in a soup, however you like it. And a real quick, like kind of cheat sheet for beginners in the sense that, so green is the energy of the heart chakra, and the heart is all about healing, and it's all about love. So it matches up on the emotional side and the physical side. And if you know for sure that you're already doing root work, you can eat red. If you know you're doing sacral work, you can eat orange. If you know you're doing solar plexus work, you can eat yellow. And up the chakra system. So that's real easy way to kind of mirror what's going on for you emotionally.
I love it. I love it. So tell us more about like what you got going on. You mentioned a couple programs. Tell us more about these programs and how people can stay connected with you moving forward.
Sure. So I'm sure Chris is going to drop the links, but I'm Heisman Health across the platforms, or you can friend me at Amanda Heisman. And I have a free Facebook support group called Intuitive Eating for Energy, which you're welcome to. My programs, 1-to-1 is like the deepest way to work with me in a Transform Your Energy program, 12 weeks. I'm taking clients this quarter up until April 11th, so another week.
Cool.
And that's a really, I already kind of talked about it, but that's a really, the deepest kind of most transformative way to work with me. If you want to dip your toe in, I have a couple of self-led 21-day and 30-day intro programs. One is about the intro to intuitive eating. So it kind of lays out the foundation there for intuitive eating and moving out of restriction mentality and into body knowing again. And that's real simple. You get pre-recorded video lessons and workbooks every other day for 21 days. And the other one is releasing sugar experiments. So I had to release sugar. I was a total sugar addict, addicted to pizza and Snickers bars and the whole 9 during my recovery from my car accident. So that's one that I find helps a lot of people across all walks of life. And that's 30 days, every other day video lesson. And yeah, I'm offering all of your viewers a free first mini intuitive reading. So they can schedule a 20-minute on my website. They can schedule a 20-minute free first meeting where I can kind of do what I talked about and channel the needs of their nourishment body. And other than that, you can look for more exciting, like creative projects coming soon.
Yeah, you mentioned singing, dancing, mixing that with health. That's super awesome. I love that.
Yeah, thanks.
I love that. Awesome. So, Amanda, you are just such a personality, and I love it. I love it. Amazing personality. So much fun having me laugh, having our audience laugh, and I know they got a lot of great insight into what they can do right now. Simple stuff, and yet it's the simple truths that are the most profound and make the biggest difference. So everyone listening, get into action. Start, if you're not doing these, or even if you are doing them, take more action, investigate further. What can you do to expand your health consciousness? Because Amanda is definitely leading the way. And if you are looking for more, definitely connect with her. Go to facebook.com/Heisman Health. Join the group, Intuitive Eating for Energy, and be looking out for those amazing projects that Amanda's got coming up.
Awesome. Thank you so much to you and your listeners.
Thank you, Amanda. Have the best day ever.
You have the best day ever.
I promise I will.